Okay. All right, guys, take a look at this. This is an Indian Challenger, a 2021. The first time I've ever driven an Indian before. This should be pretty interesting. We're over at the Veterans Rally over here. You can see this guy's got a... All right, nice. He started it for me. All right, so this is going to be pretty wild. And take a look at this. It actually, they kind of give me a little demo. It has a windscreen that goes all the way up and down. Okay, so kind of the interesting thing about this is we're going to go out for a 20-mile ride. That is a long time. A 20-mile ride. This should be pretty wild. All right, so I want to bring the screen all the way up. All right, so let's see. We're ready. All right, let's see where the friction zone is. I'm like a big friction zone kind of guy. So it looks like you have to put the clutch out maybe inch and a half, maybe 2 inches before you actually hit the friction zone, which is pretty wild. So kind of the weird thing about the friction zone is I've seen a lot of the drivability of a bike is really based on the friction zone, which is pretty wild. As a matter of fact, I was riding a BMW the other day. It was probably the hardest one to drive just because of the friction zone, because you had to let the clutch out like 3.5 inches. And then I felt like I was always kind of letting the clutch out at a stop to try to hit the friction zone. I prefer a friction zone like just let it out a little bit and you hit it right away. This one, you have to let it out. Take a look at that. You have to let it out quite a bit before it starts grabbing. And I find sometimes if you have a lot of play in the clutch like that, you're just kind of fishing for the friction zone. Of course, you know, you'd eventually get used to it, which is kind of interesting. As far as the seat's really comfortable. Look at my legs, pretty low to the ground. This is an interesting bike. Oh yeah, feels good. Yeah. Okay, good. So take a look at this one. This one has huge floorboards. Look at my big old feet on here. They actually fit right in here. I have actually size 11 shoes. So I'm actually 6'4", 230 pounds. Wow. Wow. All right, let's see if I can get used to this clutch and the friction zone. Wow. I know the first thing I noticed is the throttle is really super easy to turn. There's like no resistance in the throttle, which is pretty wild. All right, let's see. All right, going around this first corner. Wow, really stable around that first corner. Ooh, this is kind of weird right here. So the distance between the floorboard and the shifter, my boot can barely fit under there. Yeah, so this one I'm kind of hunting for the. Let's see. It's always hard to get used to. Really hard to get used to bike at first. Wow, this one's got some power. All right. It feels really comfortable. Oh, there's a big bump. Check this out. Not too bad for that big bump right there. Not too bad at all. Wow, that's got some power. This is I think this is one of the fastest cruisers. I love the sound in this thing too. It really has a really good sound. Probably one of the best sounds out of any of the bikes. So he said this one, you actually can cancel the blinkers, but it is auto off on the blinkers, which is really nice. I've ridden quite a few Hondas, and the problem with a lot of those Hondas is, well, I'm not sure exactly. All right, hold on. Let me get all my controls going here. Let's see if we can all turn together on this one. All right, here we go. Wow, this one's pretty wild. Wow, it is really comfortable. I have a really upright position, which is pretty nice. It's really super smooth. Has a lot of power, really stable on the road. I'm really impressed with this bike. Probably one of the best suspensions as far as a cruiser. This is pretty amazing. Alright, so check this out. I can do a double flick of the thumb and it brings it all the way up as far as check it out. I can go double click down and it automatically, I don't have to hold the button, it automatically brings it down. Whoa! The throttle is touchy. Wow, I'm going 60. It feels really good, really stable. The only thing the only thing I don't really like, which can easily be adjusted, is on the floorboard. I could barely put my foot underneath the shifter. Then you lift the shifter up. You know, that's an easy fix. You can just pop it off and lift it up a little bit. But I can barely put my foot between the floorboard and the shifter, which is pretty wild. This is a really nice bike. The seat is super comfortable. The other thing, let's see. The kind of the weird thing about this throttle, it almost feels like it could lift up the front end on this bike. It's got so much power, which is, I'm almost afraid to give it too much power because it feels like it could lift up the front end, which is pretty surprising on a cruiser. So as far as the wind on the windshield, I'd say there's a little bit of choppiness, not really buffeting to where it kind of bobbles your head around. Of course, we're going, 55, 60, but I didn't notice anything really uncomfortable as far as the choppiness of the wind. And that's with the windshield all the way up. Let's see with the windshield all the way down, going 60. Yeah, that's a lot of wind. I am getting buffeting with the windshield down. It's pretty bad too. Like my head's in a paint shaker. Alright, so I'm in top gear. Check this out, going 75. So yeah, I'm 6'4", and it seems like when I sit all the way up to where I'm comfortable, there is some buffeting. It almost seems like, if I kind of tuck my head just a little bit, it takes all the buffeting out. So I think I need a slightly taller windshield for this bike, going 75. Wow. This bike is pretty awesome. It's really stable. I love that sound. It sounds like an aftermarket exhaust on here. It has like a low, deep growl as far as the exhaust, but it's not too loud. Plenty of power up here in top gear. We're going 80. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, so I found myself kind of ducking down a little bit. I'm trying to get out of the buffeting. It does have some buffeting when I sit all the way up. It needs a windshield that's maybe 2 inches taller. I'm sure you could actually do it on this bike. This is probably, it's kind of interesting because I drove a lot of Harley Davidsons with floorboards, and it always seemed like I was pretty uncomfortable with the floorboards on Harley Davidsons, just the way they kind of hurt my, kind of like the top part of my leg, right where it kind of connects to my torso. And on this one, it is no problem at all. I'm really comfortable on this bike. It's kind of interesting looking at the seat on this bike because it has a step-up seat, and the seat kind of looks like at first glance that it wouldn't be that comfortable. Wow, let's go around this corner. All right, so as far as pushing on the handlebars, going around the corners at high speeds, going 70 around these corners, you have to push kind of hard. Let me try this one here. It's always, you're trying to figure out, all right, yeah, you gotta press pretty hard. All right, this is like the first ride around fast corners on this bike. All right, wow. These guys are going, man. All right, so I'm going 85 right now, trying to catch up. Pretty good for 85. It seems. Oh, it's about 3,500 RPM, going like 85, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I was going 60, right? I was going 60. Because, yeah, 60 miles an hour. It rides really good at 60 miles an hour. I was actually surprised. This is probably, I would say this is probably one of the most stable rides on the highway. Even up there with, it may even be better than the Goldwing. The Goldwing is super comfortable. I said the Goldwing, I think it was the Harley Davidson Ultra Limited that was probably one of the smoothest. Yeah, so I find myself kind of wanting to duck down just because of the buffeting. Seems like it takes these bumps pretty good. Wow, that's a pretty awesome bike. I did notice when I'm giving it gas, there is some vibration in the handlebars from vibration of the engine, which is pretty normal. Like right here, when the engine's kind of growling like that, I can definitely feel some vibration in the handlebars. This wind is really super choppy. Even at, we're going just a little over 60. It's like really choppy wind all around my helmet, which is kind of maddening. I think you could change the windshield. As far as the comfort, no problem at all. With the comfort, not really hurting anywhere, which is always a good sign. You know, sometimes you end up hurting after the first, 5 or 10 minutes. The seat, just moving around on the seat, super comfortable on the seat, even after we're going quite a while. The only thing that really kind of annoys me is the choppy wind. It seems like right on the top. Oh, look at that! If I duck down all the way down here, there's like no choppiness. Yeah, it's just. Let me see if I can catch up a little. Wow, this bike can really go, and these guys are flying. Wow, we got some wind here. We got some strong crosswinds. This bike handles it pretty good at these speeds. The mirrors are kind of interesting. So the mirrors, I really like the mirrors. So the mirrors are a little bit smaller than you'd see like on a Harley Davidson, but they're really convex to where you can see a lot behind you. Wow, when you hit the bumps, it's just like you're sitting on a pillow, which is pretty wild. Yeah, this one's pretty nice. Kind of the interesting thing is how hard you have to press on the handlebars. A lot harder than some of your Harley Davidsons. Lots of power, plenty of power. There's a really good growl to it when you give it gas. But then when you're kind of cruising, you don't really hear too much of the engine. It's pretty quiet, just cruising along, which is pretty nice. The other kind of weird thing about this throttle is that it almost seems like it has some play in it to where you have to turn the throttle. Alright, so I kind of have to concentrate on these corners here. I don't want a new bike going around these crazy corners. Let me downshift a little here. So yeah, kind of the weird thing about the throttle is that you turn the throttle like maybe an inch or so, and there's like nothing in the throttle. There's like some play in the throttle, so you have to turn it like an inch before you get to like the throttle zone, I guess you call it. We start giving the gas, which is weird. It's like you expect to give it the throttle just a little bit, and you have to. It's weird between the clutch and the throttle. It takes a little bit getting used to, because you kind of have this big leg in the friction zone and the clutch, and then you kind of have like a dead spot in the throttle where you first turn it and there's like nothing. I'm starting to get used to it. Takes a little bit. I can say probably the hardest thing to get used to on this bike is you have to press a little bit harder on the handlebars, like right here going around the corner, like almost 2 or 3 times as hard as some of the other bikes. But kind of the interesting thing is like on this one, it seemed like it wasn't as top heavy as some of your Harley Davidsons. So I think that kind of has some play into it. If you have more weight on the top, I think you don't have to press as hard because it kind of leans itself into the corners. One thing I really do like about this is it seems like the floorboards maybe are a little bit lower than you'd see on your Harley Davidsons, where my knees aren't so far up on the bike. Wow, this thing's got some power. It's a pretty awesome bike. Alright, this is pretty awesome. Look at the canyon through here, so beautiful. Alright, so for like here, we could probably bring the windshield all the way down. Well, maybe. We'll try it. We're getting a little bit more air. I don't know, that seems like pretty clean air. Not quite as choppy bringing down the windshield. I must prefer the windshield down at lower speeds. Alright, so yeah, so I was actually trying to bring the windshield up around the corner. And the hard part is you bring the windshield up with your throttle hand. So it seems like it's a little bit tricky to actually bring the windshield up without twisting the throttle, especially if you're going around a corner. So it almost seems like they should put the windshield controls on your left hand. That's what I would actually prefer. Maybe put something that's maybe not used as much over on the right. But yeah, this is pretty awesome. I'd say, you know, when we're going really super fast, it's probably one of the bikes that I felt the most comfortable with going at a really high rate of speed. You could really put some miles on this bike. I always like to see the maximum miles per hour on the gauge too. This goes up to 200 miles. I don't know if I want to go 200, but that's probably the highest I've ever seen on any motorcycle. Going up to 200. That's crazy. I think your Harley Davidsons only go up to like 125. I was on one of the BMW baggers. I can't remember which one it was, but that one actually went up to I think it was 170 miles an hour, which I was kind of blown away. But 200 miles an hour, I don't know if I'd want to be going 200 on this bike. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, today's a pretty nice day too. It's about 70 degrees. Although it seems like I'm really out of the wind. I would actually prefer a little bit more wind on my side. So you actually have these big speakers and a lot of, actually, as a matter of fact, you actually have little like wings down here on the side, which are kind of wild. The little plastic wings sticking out, which is kind of interesting. And it's like, it blocks so much wind that I'm almost roasting. And it's only 70 degrees. Usually I don't get hot until it's like 90. So I don't know if there's like vents you can open on this, but it really blocks a lot of the wind, which I wish it didn't block so much wind. Of course, there's pros and cons. If it's really cold, you kind of wish. As a matter of fact, I was on, I think it was one of the Harley Davidsons that I was kind of complaining about buffeting. And someone said there was actually a vent that you could open somewhere on the front, which would let in a lot more air, and it would prevent the buffeting. So maybe if there's I'm not sure if there's like a vent or something you can open on this, but sometimes that'll actually cut back on the buffeting or the turbulence too. So yeah, this is a really nice bike. So yeah, so pretty awesome. I like the really big display. There's a really big display on the front. What else can I tell you about this bike? Looks like it has a cigarette lighter. I just noticed that it has a cigarette lighter, like a plug-in right in the front. I don't know if you open that and there's like a USB in there. It could be. That's kind of interesting. Alright, so we've been driving a long time. Like, how long has it been? Like, it must be like 18 minutes. You look at the timestamp on the video, it's probably close to 18-20 minutes, which is pretty crazy. So far, very comfortable, very comfortable. As a matter of fact, you know, I'm always a kind of a proponent of backrest when I have floorboards, and it seems like on this one that it's pretty comfortable even without the backrest. Of course, you know, backrest always kind of helps to kind of relieve especially if you're driving really long distances, to have a backrest. But yeah, this one, no discomfort at all, no pain, no discomfort really at all, which is pretty awesome. Probably one of the best bikes that I've ridden. Would I buy this bike? Yes, I would definitely buy this bike. So it's funny, I actually came through here and I was looking at all these people riding all these fancy bikes, and I was probably looking at like the demo bikes riding or something like that, which is pretty wild. Alright, so we're actually going to stop here. Well, that's interesting. Alright. Alright, so I guess I'll kill it. Alright, so we're going to have to drive back, but I'm going to end the video here. Alright guys, that was a pretty crazy ride. My first ride on a brand new 2021 engine. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.